Howdy, folks. My name is Andy. I live in North Carolina. And in the 1990s, I was involved in a marijuana cartel. And through various means, got caught. And then spent almost 4 years in federal prison. The reason this video series is named Dave's Adventures is because while I was in federal prison, I thought to myself, it's a perfect place to try my middle name and see how I like it. I liked it quite a bit, actually. Nobody there knew me. Anyway, let's get into it. So, in 1989, I had a personal tragedy that left me with a lot of medical bills, and I was not in the best frame of mind. So when someone offered me a job hauling marijuana for a mid-sized marijuana cartel, I went ahead and did it. At the time, I said to myself, I'm either gonna wind up dead or in prison, and either one was just fine with me. Ended up being prison, which was, preferable to the other in the long run. It's been an odd journey. I've tried to write about it several times with limited success, so I figured I would just record some videos, talk about the mechanics of how drug operations operate and what it's like to be in prison, and how prison is nothing like any of the TV shows or movies that show people in prison. I haven't found a single one that has any degree of accuracy. Although, give them credit. They try, some of them do. But it's ludicrous. There's, Hollywood gets its fingers in there and messes it up. And most people don't even know the difference between jail, which is where you go if you have like a drunk driving charge or you haven't paid something like child support. You go to jail for 30 days or 60 days. And prison, which is where you go once you've been convicted of a felony. So, in 1990, I started hauling weed. My first job interview was to go down to Florida in a 4-door hatchback Chevette and bring back around 200 pounds of marijuana from the Miami area. I drove down there. I took a bunch of dirty laundry with me because I didn't really feel like, a Chevette, it's a hatchback, there's no trunk, so it was like 3 big duffel bags. I, met the guy, I picked up the product, I put all my dirty laundry over the bag so it just looked like I had a huge pile of dirty laundry in the back of the car, and then I drove back to North Carolina. Needless to say, I went 2 to 3 miles an hour over the speed limit, and that was it. Didn't break any laws. I made sure everything on my car worked great. And that was my foray into the realm of drug dealing. In the 90s, keep in mind, marijuana wasn't really legal anywhere. It might have been decriminalized on a state level in Alaska, but there was nowhere you could just go buy weed legally. It was dependent upon people who were willing to take the risk to go to prison to ensure that people had weed. I'm not saying I'm an American folk hero for doing it, but, I had my own reasons. But marijuana to me was morally okay. I had smoked weed since I was 15. And I didn't have any problems with selling weed. I wasn't selling it to kids. I was selling it to middle-aged adults. So that was an interesting job interview. It was only after that I met the people we talked for a little while, and I signed on with them, and that was that. I was employed. It paid good money, and it was exciting. I'll give it that. It was a very exciting job. A lot of times the excitement was not the kind you want, really. You know, caravans can be exciting, but it's not exciting like having a cop following you for 5 miles while you got 250 pounds of weed in the trunk. Anyway, around 4 years after I went into the business, things fell apart. I'll get into that story in due time. And I ended up being arrested on the 3rd round of arrests after I had been ratted out. I got a good lawyer. I did not testify against anyone, but he was a good enough lawyer to where the feds were willing to give me a deal. I was facing something like 20 years, and my lawyer got it pled down to 46 months, which is 3 years and 10 months. Almost a 4-year bit. About the same amount of time I had been dealing weed. So after that, I self-reported and spent the next 46 months in various federal institutions. They're better and worse than I thought. But like I said, they bear no resemblance to anything on the TV or in the movies. There are very definite unwritten rules when you go into that place, and I'll get into those later too. This video is basically just an introduction. I'm going to try to keep the segments down to 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes per segment. I don't know how many it'll take to tell the story. I'm sure I'm going to go off on tangents as we go along on this journey. And if you have any questions at all for me, just leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. Now, the mechanics of the drug war and federal prison are probably pretty close today to what they were 30 years ago. It's just, it's just the nature of the beast. And there are differences in, the types of drug gangs. We dealt solely with marijuana, so we were laid back. We didn't have to control territory like some types of drug gangs do. I don't have any idea what that's like, because that's not the way middle-class white people generally sell drugs, especially marijuana. It's not based on a territory. It's just based on who you know and where you go to get it, or if somebody delivers it to you. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And I made a good living at it for, almost 4 years before things fell apart. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for this first episode. Like I say, if you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the comment section, and I will get to them as quickly as possible. And I will upload the next episode to let you know what happened after that initial job interview within the next couple of days. Thanks a lot, folks, and have a great weekend. This is Dave, signing off.